How's it going today, everybody? This is John, aka Skillfully, and I'm doing what I sometimes do, usually once a week or sometimes once every 2 weeks, where I will occasionally go on the Creepypasta Wiki or some other website like that and try to find new and fresh ideas for potential Scare Your Friends episodes. And about 90% of what I find usually doesn't make the cut into the... There is a list of stories I have for potential ideas, but most of it I don't really think is appropriate for Scare Your Friends as far as for episodes and for discussion and for whatever reason. So, but tonight I was just on it and decided to hit the random story button and thought to myself, hey, why not try to just read one of these, like one of those Creepypasta narrator guys, and see if I can do my own analysis, kind of similar to content that Mudahar of Some Ordinary Gamers used to do. I don't know if this is something I want to do regularly, but I figured I'd give it a shot and see what everyone thinks, so let me know down below if this is something you want to see more of. Okay, so tonight I clicked the random story button and found a story called Sanity for Trade. It has 6 comments. It's been around for quite a while. I did look at the history of the story. It's on the wiki. The link to the story will be in the description of the video, and it doesn't seem that many people have seen it. It was made in, I think, 2013, and the subject matter appears to be video game related, so this is actually a haunted gaming story. Fun. Alright, it's a pretty short little thing, and I haven't read it, of course, so let's see what happens here. So this is Sanity for Trade. I never knew what I did to deserve this fate. How innocent I was. Just a guy spending his paycheck, you know. I was never really good at video games. I played my first video game at the age of 16, an old Zelda game. It wasn't much, but it was all new to me. Seeing all the cool ads of the more modern games and gaming systems, I decided to buy a PlayStation 3. I went to a local GameStop to buy a PS3. I was excited and slightly nervous in a weird way. I didn't know what to expect. I walked in and walked straight over to the manager and asked for a PS3 to buy. He told me to wait a bit while he goes to the back to grab a console. I walk around the shop. I saw a few games I might be interested in. I grabbed 2, Uncharted and Lair. I walked up to the register where the manager came back with a PS3. I handed him the money, and he rang up a console and games. And he soon asked, "Is this everything you're looking to buy?" I took a last look of things to make sure I was satisfied with my purchase. I looked over to see a disc and a used game packet. I read the title, Borderlands. I asked him about it. He explained the game in great detail. It seemed interesting to me. I never heard of a shooter RPG, so I decided to buy it. I walked out of the store with a half-empty wallet and a smile on my face. After I got home and hooked up the PlayStation, I popped in the game Lair. The game focused on battles fought on the backs of dragons. I thought the game was boring after an hour or so I ejected the game. I looked at the used Borderlands game. It sounded so good. I wondered how much someone had to play it until it got boring enough to return. I put in the game and waited in excitement and curiosity. During the intro, I laughed harshly. Even though the idea of a tiny animal being ran over by a bus is a bit dark, the game did it in a way where you don't feel like crap for laughing. I looked through the characters and picked the Siren, Lilith. I completed the tutorial in about 15 minutes. The game was easy to learn, and I thought the combat was unique. There was always a rush of excitement when I opened a chest. I got a mission from Zed to kill a few creatures that roam around the outside of Firestone named Skags. While killing the monsters, I saw flashes on the screen. They only popped up for a second and disappeared, so I couldn't read them. On my way back to Firestone, I seen some bandits and psychos running and shooting towards me. Killed the bandits easily, but I struggled with the psycho. He was lashing furiously at me. I never thought the game would make them that fast. I shot at him with everything I had. With every bullet that hit him, he flinched, and it took a second to start charging at me again. It looked like he was in pain. The 7th shot to the head did the trick. While dying, he got on his knees and shouted, "Liar." I ignored the strange insult, thinking it was like one of the humorous death reactions all the human characters make. I went back to Zed and turned in the quest. He gave me another quest, this time to see a man named TK Baha. I started to walk out of the town when more of the flashes started near the exit of the town. I turned around everywhere, trying to see if an enemy was causing the flashes. They stopped when I turned to see a psycho leaning against one of the buildings. I aimed down my sights on him, but his health bar was green, meaning he was an NPC. I walked over to him to talk, and he said, "Hey, kiddo, looking for a mean gun?" A quest option came up to accept or deny. I accepted the quest for more XP and cash on the side. He had an assault rifle in his hand and pushed it out towards me. The gun was black with red lines streaming from the barrel. It looked like a tool of a reaper. "This thing will get you some tasty shots. I stole this from an old vault hunter who was in charge here. I'll let you have it for that dumb pistol you got there." I took the gun and he received my pistol. It said quest complete. He thanked me when I turned in the quest. "Thanks, kid. I've been waiting to do this for so long. I thought it was some kind of cutscene, so I sat and watched." He pointed the gun towards his head and shot. It took him a few times until he naturally died, as the gun wasn't strong enough to kill him with the first shot. I thought it was simply one of those dark humor jokes that the game normally threw out. I didn't think it was funny. I guess I didn't get the joke. I went to TK Baha. I encountered a few skags on my way. The gun wasn't good at all against the monsters. It was even worse than my pistol. I was angry. I can't believe the game ripped me off. It took me a bit, but I killed the skags and made my way to TK's place. About an hour and a half later, I got a quest to kill some boss named Nine Toes. I was inside his base of bandits. They were a couple levels above me, and I was nervous. I was stuck with a bad gun. I would buy another one, but I didn't have enough cash. I chose to suck it up and storm through the base. Something unexpected happened. It was easy to kill the bandits despite their levels. It was great, I thought. I was so powerful. It made me feel like a pro. As I progressed, more and more flashes popped up. It froze for about 5 seconds. I read the screen. It spelt out the word "no," scratched up wicked writing. I didn't know what it meant. I assumed that the previous owner just added a couple of glitches to freak out the new owner. I shrugged it off, but it still bothered me. I found Nine Toes and his 2 pet skags. I killed both the skags in mere seconds. It took me about 30 seconds to slay Nine Toes. As he died, he started laughing. It sounded horrid. I thought it was insane. I don't know why, but I started laughing. I couldn't find a reason why. I laughed until he died, and then I looted him. After leaving his base, I saved the game and went to bed. After work, I went straight to my TV. I quickly turned on the PS3, and I finally got a high enough level to use my skill, Phase Walk. I went back to TK Baha to turn in the quest. While he was talking, my finger slipped when I tried to skip the cutscene, and I hit the R1 button. I shot TK, and he flew back on the wall. I knew this wasn't normal. You weren't supposed to be able to attack NPCs. He wasn't dead, but moaned in pain, asking, "Why would you do that?" He held his wound. His health bar was nearly gone. I felt bad, and I couldn't take his moaning anymore. I took a final shot on him. I didn't aim, but the bullet hit his head. His head exploded in chunks and flew everywhere. I nearly threw up from how graphic it was. Another flash appeared on the screen. It read, "That was funny. Didn't feel nice to know he's okay again." I dropped the controller, and I turned off the console. End the game. Well, that is about what we expected here. What can you say? So yeah, obviously this story is lacking in a few places. I think the biggest issue seems to come from the fact that when it comes to stories, you want to build towards something. You want to build towards a climax. And this person is clearly trying to build towards this event, the big horror event, which is when TK Baha gets killed. And it's really graphic. He drops the controller, and that's supposed to be the big moment where we're supposed to go, "OMG, I'm so scared." But that didn't really happen. It was more just like a random series of events in a game. And, I feel like this person, this was probably their first attempt at writing. This story was written, by the way, by Wolfman Alpha. I'm not really sure what to say. I mean, there's not... when it comes to haunted gaming stories, I mean, this is what happens with these, unfortunately. Because it's not very scary when, something transpires in a video game that doesn't directly impact the protagonist. In fact, a lot of the things, like he spends this giant section with this character, probably the most, one of the more interesting ideas from this story is the idea of going up to one of these crazy characters and trading in the gun for a pistol and having the character shoot himself in the head several times. Like, that would be kind of weird if you played Borderlands and that kind of shit happened, where you walked up to an NPC, you gave them a gun, and they killed themselves with it. That would be kind of weird, But then, there's this whole thing with, the first instance, where the first crazy person gets shot, and on the seventh shot, while dying, he goes to his knees and shouts, "Liar." There's no payoff to this. Why is the character a liar? I'm not really sure. I really can't even think of a reason for why the word liar, would impact, or not even really impact, but just sort of would be like a shot against the protagonist of the story. I don't know why he's a liar, and there's nothing in the story that would tell me that he's a liar, and why the character would say that. So that seems a bit out there. Then there's the thing with the guy killing himself with the gun, and that's, again, kind of nice. And then there's this weird thing with Nine Toes. What does he do when he gets killed? He started laughing, and then he started laughing. Okay, so again, I don't know. I feel like if I killed an NPC in a video game and they started cracking up and they started laughing to the point where I was starting to manically laugh, I probably would put the game down. And again, see, even in this sort of weird logic, let's say everything that happened in the story was scary, which it clearly isn't, but this person at the very end of the story puts the game down, drops the controller when they see TK's head explode. That imagery is enough to get them to stop playing the game, to turn off the console in the game. That's the line. We crossed the line. We're not going to play Borderlands anymore. But when a character gets shot and laughs so insanely that it actually causes the player to start laughing, why wouldn't that be enough to not turn the game on anymore? In fact, he actually says in the final paragraph of the story, "After work, I went straight to my TV, quickly turned on my PlayStation 3. So, clearly none of the things that happened prior to this impacted the protagonist in any way until he shot TK. So, why bother writing that in? There's also weird sort of, and this is another thing that a lot of newer writers will do when it comes to creepypastas. And again, I'm not a writer. I'm not here to tell you how to write stories. But there's just stuff that I tend to notice with newer writers, and especially in this genre, which is that they give us a lot of exposition that doesn't really mean anything. Like, you picked Siren. Does that matter? I mean, I know there's different characters in Borderlands, but, why are you describing the game layer to me before this even happens? He puts in the game layer, a game about battles and dragons, that the game was boring. So why even have that in there? Why not just go straight to the Borderlands game? Why bother mentioning that you bought the game Uncharted and layer? And if you did, why not just play Borderlands? Have the character play Borderlands, since that's the focus of your story. If the horror is going to happen in Borderlands, then why are you having your character play layer for what seems to be half a paragraph where he just decides the game's boring and puts it down for Borderlands? There's also other weird stuff, like during the intro I laughed harshly. They're describing what happens at the beginning of Borderlands, I guess, when I think there's some sort of animal gets run over by a car or some other vehicle. I played Borderlands before, I just don't remember it that well. So, yeah. This story is not very good, unfortunately. I think that this person could have improved, potentially. I think that you can learn a lot from reading stories like this, though. And I don't want anyone to think that they should stop writing because, they struggle or anything like that. But, no, this is just an example of how not to really do it, and why I think that the haunted gaming genre is a very difficult thing to work on. I just don't really see a lot here that you can take from this and say, wow, if they only built upon this. If you're going to lead it to, TK Baja, then if the tragedy and the shock and the horror is going to be after shooting our precious TK Baja, then why not have paragraphs where you establish a relationship with him, where, where you're just talking to him a lot more. Like, maybe there's extra lines of dialogue that he tells you that's not normally in the game. And focus on maybe some weird missions that TK Baja sends you on that aren't normal for the game script. And instead of talking about this guy with the word liar, or nine toes, or laughing manically because he killed someone in a video game. But even though a video game caused you to laugh like that, you still went on and turned on the game anyway. And then just accidentally shot TK Baja. If the goal is to establish drama when you shoot him, that's supposed to be the climactic moment, accidentally shooting this character, then you need to establish a relationship with that character so that you feel something when he actually gets shot. But anyway, yeah, I would say that this story could be better. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing I've read. I would say that if I had to grade this out of 10, I would say, considering that it's probably their first story, and the fact that the middle part really just, but there's interesting ideas with I like the character that trades you the gun and then shoots himself in the head for it. I don't know if that actually appears in the game anywhere, but if it doesn't, that's an interesting idea. So I would give this maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10, something like that. All right, then. So that was me trying to read creepypasta stories, just off the cuff. And let me guys know what you think. I don't know if I'm going to do this again, but let me know if I should. And so this has been John, a.k.a. Skillfully, and I will see you in the next one, potentially. Take care of yourselves, and take care of each other.